A stifling of free speech. That's the cry from Twitter users to news that the messaging networks launched special algorithms that will suppress some accounts. The recent changes are part of a project called Serving Healthy Conversation. It was introduced back in March. Now, the algorithms will target certain accounts based on a range of criteria. They include users who've violated Twitter rules or how often certain accounts have been blocked by other users. The changes have raised concerns, though, throughout the social media community, particularly from conservative sides.
Laugh out loud. Twitter is going to start shadow banning accounts who even follow or talk to people who violate their terms of service. What a brilliant plan.
So now Twitter is planning to censor any tweets reported for abuse? Really? No check to see if the tweet was actually abusive, whatever that means.
Dear Twitter and Jack, I never complain about how you run your business, but your new hiding tweets policy has me concerned about censorship. I understand your goal is to stop bullying, but I found the block feature works incredibly well for that.
Bill Mew is a social media privacy campaigner and a strategist at UK Cloud, and very pleased to say he joins me live on the line now. Bill, these new algorithms, it would be great to think they could be trusted. Computers don't always get it right. Certainly in the past, bots have been fought against and real people have ended up being banned by Twitter. So how successful do we think this is going to be?
I think the efficiency of the algorithms are part of the concerns that people have. They've been trialling the algorithms for some time, and it's very difficult to differentiate between people such as myself who campaign around privacy and freedom of speech and are therefore passionate about worthy issues, and people who are equally passionate about some sort of less worthy topics, maybe hate or whatever. And the algorithms at this moment in time haven't actually been that effective at differentiating between the different types of passion. They can get the tone, but that's about as far as it goes. The other side of the coin, obviously, is the way in which you put in due process behind a lot of this.
Do we know just how transparent this is going to be in terms of what are the rules and when people have transgressed? Because there will be fears that there will be some suppression of people because of perhaps political views.
This is all what I'm talking about in terms of due process. At this moment in time, the way that the shadow bans work is that this is put in place as a result of an algorithm that has identified you for some reason or whatever. You are not informed that you've been shadow banned. You are not told why you've been shadow banned. You have no right of redress. There is no appeals process. Unless we can have a little bit more due process here, you're actually stifling free speech. Now, I'm not defending people who are going to be bigoted or going to be support any sort of hate crimes or whatever. But what we need to do is to ensure that if social media are going to be serious parts of our freedom of speech arena and the dialogue that we have as a community, that we have due process to protect freedom of speech and that we have redress, we have transparency, we put in place sensible measures. I mean, the recent privacy exposure around Facebook and Cambridge Analytica means that social media sites are already under pressure for potential regulation. And if Twitter don't get their algorithms right, and if they don't put in place some sort of due process, they may find themselves facing some sort of regulation in this form.
From your experience, what is the biggest danger? Because at the moment on social media, as I understand, there's a lot of hatred out there. People speak in a way they probably wouldn't do, certainly face-to-face with other members of the public. The other side of it, though, is if you start censoring everything that people say, where do the biggest dangers lie?
There's been a level of effectiveness in terms of what the algorithms have picked up so far. So I don't think we want to be unbalanced here. What I think we need to do is to encourage them to make those algorithms more effective, because we do want to stamp out the sort of hate speech and a lot of the unpleasantness and the trolling that can occur. But there are measures in place around complaints that can lead in that direction anyway, and the algorithms are purely an automated assistance around that. If we're going to use these algorithms, though, we need to refine them to improve their accuracy, and we need to ensure that we have these due process measures to allow people who've possibly mistakenly been included in the net here. And in some of the recent shadow bans, there have been some very senior bloggers, some very senior influencers on social media who've been caught up in shadow bans, myself included at intervals, and we have said nothing untoward. And therefore, our concern is that without transparency, without the sort of due process and the right of redress, then I think there's going to be a certain amount of disquiet, and this may need to some form of regulation at some point.
And just to pick up on that, just very briefly, if you can, Bill, isn't that the danger? I know you said there needs to be transparency. Isn't that a danger, though? So much power in the hands of one company that this power could be used to basically control social conversation. If it's touching upon some issues that they don't want touched upon, then those conversations can quickly be banned, removed in some form or another.
The issue here is, at this moment in time, they are judge, jury and executioner. If we can have some sort of due process, if they can have a little bit more transparency, at least inform people when they are being impacted by some sort of measures, at least tell them why the measures have been taken against them and have some sort of appeals process or right of redress, then I think that will go a long way towards actually addressing many of the concerns that people have. And of course, they can work on the algorithms to approve them at the same time. But without all of that, there are real concerns around freedom of speech here. And I'm not defending a lot of the trolling and a lot of the bigotry that does exist in social media. We do want to stamp that out, but we have to be more effective. And I think some of the inefficiencies in the measures and some of the lack of transparency and due process are of real concern here.
Bill, appreciate your time and your views. Very interesting. Bill Mew, my guest, social media privacy campaigner and also cloud strategist at UK Cloud. Thanks, Bill.